Welcome to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. On this show, we use the Triggator philosophy to help you build a spending plan that fits your life, grow your savings and investments, and knock out debt with confidence. But today, we're going to talk about something that, for me, is actually really emotional. We're going to talk about when you're not thriving. We're going to talk about when you're just surviving. Because sometimes life hits hard. The paycheck doesn't stretch. The bills pile up. The fridge is empty. The gas tank is low. And stress is high. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like you're failing. But you're not. You're in financial survival mode. And that's not failure, it's feedback. In this episode, we're going to talk about what to do when you're in crisis mode, when the numbers don't add up, when you're just trying to make it to next week. We'll cover how to know if you're in survival mode and why naming it is powerful. The 4 walls strategy, food, shelter, transportation, and utilities, and how to protect them first. We'll talk about micro budgeting, how to build a 3-day, 7-day, or get to the one paycheck plan that actually works. And the mindset shift from panic to purpose, because even in survival mode, you can find hope. This episode, it's not about shame. It's about clarity. It's about giving you a plan when everything feels out of control. Because here's the truth. You don't have to stay in survival mode forever. You can stabilize. You can rebuild. You can move from survive to thrive. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, behind, or just plain exhausted, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Survival mode isn't failure, it's feedback. Let's start with something that might surprise you, but probably not. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. According to a 2023 survey by payroll.org, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That includes people earning 6 figures. That includes people who look like they have it together. That includes people who are doing everything, quote, right, and still feel like they're drowning. So if you're in survival mode right now, hear me clearly. You are not a failure. You are not broken. You are not alone. You're just in a season, and seasons, they change. But before we talk about how to move forward, let's define what survival mode actually is. What is financial survival mode? Financial survival mode is when your money is only covering the bare minimum, and not even that. It's when you're choosing between groceries and gas. It's when you're dodging bills, juggling due dates, and praying nothing else breaks. It's when your spending plan isn't about goals. It's about getting through the week. And here's the thing, survival mode isn't just about income. It's about margin. It's about how much space you have between what's coming in and what's going out. If that space is razor thin or non-existent, then you're in survival mode. And again, that's not failure, it's feedback. It's your finances saying, hey, something's not working, let's fix it. Why naming it matters. When you name the season you're in, you're taking back control. You stop pretending everything's fine. You stop comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You stop beating yourself up for not thriving when you're just trying to survive. And you start making a plan that fits your reality. Because here's the truth, you can't build wealth from a place of panic. You can't budget your way to peace if you're drowning in shame. You can't move forward if you're stuck in survival mode and pretending you're not. So let's name it, let's own it, and then let's build a plan to move through it. Survival mode versus overspending. Now let's pause for a moment and ask an important question. Are you truly in survival mode or are you in overspend mode? This isn't about blame, it's about clarity, because sometimes what feels like survival is actually overspending in disguise. And the good news, overspending is fixable and fast. Here's how to tell the difference. If your income covers your basic needs, food, housing, utilities, transportation, but you're still running out of money, you might be in overspend mode. If you're consistently spending on wants, streaming services, takeout, impulse buys while struggling to pay bills, that's overspend mode. If you've never tracked your spending or built a paycheck-based plan, you might not be in survival mode. You might just be flying blind. And again, no shame, no judgment, just awareness. Because if you're in overspend mode, that's actually great news. It means you have room to adjust. You have margin. You just haven't told it where to go yet. And once you do, you can move from chaos to clarity in a matter of moments. I've been there. Let me tell you something that I don't share lightly. Many years ago, on December 20th, just 5 days before Christmas, I was called into HR at my job. For the first time in my career, and sadly not the last, I was informed that my position had been eliminated due to corporate downsizing, effective immediately. I had no plan. I had no savings. I had nothing. My financial IQ at the time, somewhere between a rock and a patch of seaweed. I had plenty of debt, no income, and bills to pay. And that's when tough decisions really started. Christmas presents, all were returned. Food budget for me and my wife, $1 a day. Gas money, whatever we could find in the couch cushions. And even that was a debate, whether we use it for food or a half gallon of gas. It was hard. It was stressful. It was not something I would wish on anyone. But I want you to know, if you're in that place right now, making those impossible decisions, there is hope. There is a path. You can right the ship. And as we talk in the next sections about applying the Triggator Triangle, I'll share more of my story and the steps I took to move from survive to thrive. The Triggator Triangle still works in survival mode. You've heard me talk about the Triggator Triangle: budget, save, pay off debt. And you might be thinking, Nate, I can't even afford groceries. How am I supposed to do all that? Here's the good news. The triangle still works. You just have to scale it for your season. Budget. This becomes micro budgeting. We're going to talk about that soon. Save becomes protecting your four walls. Pay off debt becomes pausing extra payments until you're stable and avoiding digging the hole deeper. You're not abandoning the triangle, you're adapting it. Because the goal right now isn't to thrive, it's to stabilize. And once you're stable, then we build, then we accelerate, then we thrive. Remember in Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, when Sam says, it's like in the great stories, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end. But in the end, it's only a passing thing. It's shadow. Even darkness must pass. That's survival mode. It's a shadow. It's a season. It's not the end of your story. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep going. One step, one decision, one paycheck at a time. Because even in the dark, you're still moving forward. What survival mode is not? Let me clear up a few things. Survival mode is not a permanent identity. It's not a moral failure. It's not a reason to give up. It's a signal, a season, a starting point. And yes, it's hard, it's exhausting, it's humbling. But it's also clarifying, because when you're in survival mode, you learn what really matters. You learn how strong you are. You learn how to lead your money with purpose, even when there's not much to lead. And that clarity, it's the foundation for everything that comes next. So what's next? In the next section, we're going to talk about the four walls: food, shelter, transportation, and utilities, and how to protect them. Because when you're in survival mode, your job isn't to do everything. It's to do the essentials. And when you protect the essentials, you create space, you create stability, you create the margin you need to breathe. So if you're in survival mode right now, take a breath. You're not stuck, you're not alone, and you're not done. You're just getting started. The 4 walls, protecting what matters most. When you're in survival mode, your job isn't to do everything, it's to do the essentials. That's where the 4 walls come in. The 4 walls are the foundation of your financial house. They are food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. If these aren't covered, nothing else matters. Not your credit score, not your streaming subscriptions, not even your debt payments. Because when the 4 walls are secure, you can breathe, you can think, you can plan. But when they're crumbling, everything feels like a crisis. According to the Federal Reserve's 2024 Economic Well-Being Report, 11% of adults struggled to pay their bills in the past year due to income variability. And many reported skipping meals or delaying medical care because of cost. That's not just a statistic, that's survival mode in action. So let's talk about how to protect your 4 walls, starting with how I did it. Step 1, get some income, any income. When I lost my job 5 days before Christmas, I had no savings, no plan, and no backup. So my first move, get some income, any income. I picked up a night shift flipping burgers at a 1950s style diner. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't ideal, but it gave me 2 things, a paycheck and my days free to job hunt. If you're in survival mode, don't wait for the perfect job. Look for something that brings in cash now. Gig work, part-time shifts, anything that buys you time and margin. Because income is oxygen. And when you're gasping, you don't wait for bottled spring air. You breathe what you can. Step 2, secure shelter. At the time of my layoff, my wife and I were living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Rent was due, and we couldn't afford it. So we downsized hard. We moved into a basement apartment, technically 2 bedrooms, but one was an open hallway that didn't even have a door. We gave up space, privacy, and control of the thermostat. We could literally hear the landlord snoring through the ceiling. But we gained something important, stability. And here's the bonus. Our landlord paid the utilities. So with one move, we secured 2 walls, shelter and utilities. It wasn't ideal, but it was essential. If you're facing a housing crisis, ask yourself, can I downsize? Can I move in with family temporarily? Can I negotiate with my landlord? This isn't about pride, it's about protection. Step 3, prioritize utilities. Utilities are non-negotiable. You need light, you need heat, you need water. If you're behind, call your providers. Many offer hardship programs, payment plans, or temporary relief. But you have to ask. And if you're choosing between paying the electric bill or a credit card minimum, pay the electric bill because Visa doesn't repossess your heat. Step 4, keep transportation running. Transportation is your link to income. If you can't get to work, you can't earn, period. At the time, I had a car loan, one of the few debts that I didn't pause. Why? Because that car got me to my night shift. It was my income lifeline. Now, I'll be honest, I got a great deal on that car. It was basic, no bells, no whistles, but the payment was $95 a month, and that I had to make it manageable. If your car payment is crushing you though, consider selling the car and buying a cheaper one with cash. Maybe you need to refinance it temporarily for a lower payment. Maybe even use public transit or carpooling if available. The goal isn't to have the nicest ride, it's to have a reliable one. Let's talk about food for just a moment. Food was one of the hardest walls to secure for us. As I mentioned, our food budget, $1 a day. We lived off rice and beans and the generosity of others. My dad, he gave us a 5-gallon bucket labeled rice, and we still have that rice bucket to this day. Yes, it's been refilled since then. If you're struggling to feed your family, you're not alone. You are not without options. Use local food banks and community resources. Plan ultra simple meals. Check with local churches, even if you're not a member of the congregation. Many have short-term help while you rebuild. Accept help. There is no shame in feeding your family. How to prioritize your 4 walls. Here's your checklist. List your 4 walls expenses. First, food. Second, shelter. Third, utilities. Fourth, transportation. Now, list your income, even if it's inconsistent. Assign every dollar to a wall in order of the survival priority. Then pause everything else. Subscriptions, debt payments, extras. This isn't forever. This is triage. And once your 4 walls are stable, then we build, then we budget, then we thrive. I didn't stay in that basement apartment forever. I didn't flip burgers forever. But I'll never forget what it felt like to secure those 4 walls. It gave me breathing room. It gave me hope. It gave me a foundation to rebuild. And you can do the same. A final thought on the 4 walls. The 4 walls aren't just a strategy, they're a lifeline. So if you're in survival mode, start here. Protect what matters most. And know this, you're not stuck, you're not broken, you're building. And the foundation you lay today, that's what your future will stand on. Micro-budgeting, the plan that fits in your pocket. When you're in survival mode, traditional budgeting can feel like you're trying to build IKEA furniture with no instructions and missing 3 screws. You don't need a 12-month forecast. You need a plan that gets you through the next few days. That's where micro-budgeting comes in. Micro-budgeting is the art of building a plan that fits your current reality, whether it's 3 days, 7 days, or 1 paycheck at a time. And it works. According to the Federal Reserve's 2024 Economic Well-Being Report, 29% of U.S. adults reported income that varied from month to month, and many cited mismatches between income and expenses as a major source for financial stress. That's nearly 1/3 of the population that can't rely on a normal budget. So if you're in that boat, you're not behind. You're just ready for a better system. What is micro-budgeting? It is exactly what it sounds like, budgeting in small, manageable chunks. Instead of trying to plan the whole month, you zoom in. Maybe it's a 3-day plan when things are really tight and you're just trying to make it to the weekend. A 7-day plan, a 1 week's view that helps you prioritize food, gas, and bills. 1 paycheck plan. This actually gets you on track to the Triggator standard, assigning every dollar from your next paycheck to the essentials. This isn't about perfection, it's about clarity. Because when you know what your money is doing for the next few days, you stop panicking and start leading. How I started micro-budgeting. Back when I was flipping burgers at night and job hunting during the day, I didn't have the luxury of a monthly plan. I had a what can we afford today plan. Our food budget was $1 a day. Our gas budget was whatever we found in the couch cushions. And every dollar had to be assigned with surgical precision. So I started writing down everything on paper, on sticky notes, on the back of receipts. $3 for rice and beans, $5 for gas to work, $0 for everything else. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. And over time, those micro budgets became the foundation for a real plan. How to build a micro budget. Here's a simple framework to get started. Pick your time frame, whether it's 3 days, 7 days, or a paycheck. Don't overthink it. Just pick what feels manageable. List your income for that time period. What do you have coming in during that window, including paychecks, side gigs, child support, anything? What is super nice about many side gigs these days is that you can get paid daily, and that you can assign on a daily basis to keep your walls going. Next, list your essentials. Start with your 4 walls. food, shelter, utilities, transportation, and any non-negotiables like medication or diapers. Assign every dollar. Use the Triggator method. Give every dollar a job. Even if it's just $20, decide where it's going. Pause everything else. Subscriptions, debt payments, extras, they can wait. Right now, you're building stability. Track it daily. Check in every day. Adjust as needed and celebrate your small wins. Here's a quick example of a 7-day micro budget. Let's say you have $150 to get through the next 7 days. Here's what it might look like. $35 groceries, rice, beans, eggs, bread, peanut butter. $25 gas. $40 rent contribution or utility bill. $10 for your phone bill if it's prepaid. $20 emergency buffer. It's not glamorous, but it's a plan, and a plan gives you power. Why micro-budgeting works? Micro-budgeting works because it meets you where you are. It doesn't ask you to predict the future. It doesn't shame you into what you can't afford. It just says, let's lead the money you have right now. And when you do that consistently, you build momentum. You start seeing patterns. You start to anticipate expenses. You start to feel in control again. One of the most powerful things that I did during that season was to keep a notebook of every dollar I spent. Not to guilt myself, but to learn. And what I learned is this: I didn't need a perfect budget. I needed a rhythm. And that rhythm started with 3 days, then 7, then 1 paycheck, then 2. And eventually I had a full spending plan, a peace of mind fund, a debt payoff strategy. But it started with a sticky note and a $5 bill. If you're in survival mode, don't try to build a castle. Build a tent. Build a plan that gets you through the next few days, then the next, then the next. Because when you lead your money, even in small ways, you start to lead your life. And that's how you move from survive to thrive. From panic to purpose. The mindset shift that changes everything. Let's talk about the most powerful tool you have in survival mode. It's not a spreadsheet. It's not a side hustle. It's not even your next paycheck. It's your mindset. Because here's the truth. Survival mode is a season. And with the right mindset, it's a temporary one. The mindset shift. When you're in survival mode, it's easy to feel stuck. Like this is just how life is now. Like you'll never get ahead. Like you're always one flat tire away from disaster. But that's not the truth. The truth is you can move forward. You can rebuild. You can thrive. And it starts with one decision. I'm not staying here. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have a perfect plan. You just need a firm desire to act and a willingness to take the next right step. Micro goals, macro impact. When I was in survival mode, flipping burgers at night, job hunting during the day, I didn't just focus on getting through the week. I did look at the future. I set micro goals, tiny steps that moved me towards something bigger. At the time, I only had a couple of semesters of college under my belt, but I knew I wanted a master's degree. I knew it mattered. So I started with what I had, management experience. After a few months at the diner, I landed a job managing a Domino's pizza. That job, it got me out of survival mode. But it wasn't the end goal. It was the next step. From there, I used my some college status to get a job as a configuration analyst. I restarted school. I earned my bachelor's degree, then my master's. Goal achieved. And here's the thing. There's nothing special about me. I didn't have a secret advantage. I didn't have a financial safety net. I had a plan. I had grit. I had a mindset that said, this is not where my story ends. And if I can do it, so can you. The lessons of survival mode. Survival mode teaches you things no classroom ever could. How to stretch a dollar, how to prioritize what really matters, how to lead your money with clarity, how to stay calm when everything feels chaotic. These lessons, they don't disappear when the crisis ends. They become the foundation for your future. They make you stronger, smarter, more intentional. And when you get out of survival mode, and you will, you'll carry those lessons with you into every financial decision you make. Remember in Batman Begins when Alfred asks Bruce, "Why do we fall?" And then Alfred says, "So we can learn to pick ourselves up." That's survival mode. It's not the end of your story. It's the part where you learned to rise. If you're in survival mode right now, here's your mindset checklist. Decide this is temporary. Set one micro goal, something that you can do this week. Celebrate small wins, every dollar saved, every wall secured. Visualize your future, not just what you're escaping, but what you're building. Speak hope to yourself, to your family, to your future. Because when you shift from panic to purpose, everything changes. You stop reacting, you start leading. You stop spiraling, you start climbing. You stop surviving, you start thriving. You don't have to stay in survival mode. You can stabilize. You can rebuild. You can lead your money with purpose even when there's not much to lead. And the mindset you build in this season, that's what will carry you to the next one. So take a breath, take a step, and take heart. Because you're not stuck. You're not broken. You're building. And your story isn't over. It's just getting good. You've made it to the end of From Survive to Thrive. And if you're still here, you're not just surviving, you're starting something. Now for your challenge. I told you my path. Now it's time to set yours. Choose where you want to be and work backwards with your first micro goal. Don't worry about step number 42. Even though, yes, it is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, just focus on step 1. That might be checking out a book from the library on a skill you want to develop, putting in an application for that survival job, looking for the exit survival job. Remember my move from cook to Domino's manager? Signing up for a free online course, calling a friend who's been where you are and asking how they got through it, writing down your first 3-day micro budget on a sticky note. Whatever it is, take that step today. Because when you move with purpose, even the smallest step builds momentum. Let's keep the conversation going. If you've been in survival mode, I'd love to hear your story. What did you spend? What did you learn? How did you move from survive to thrive? And if you're in survival mode right now, send your questions, your concerns. We are here to help. We're here to guide. Email me at podcast@Triggator.com or message me on Instagram, Facebook, or X at Triggator. If this episode helped you, follow the show because your financial journey deserves a guide that gets it. Leave a review, especially if this helped you trade panic for a plan, or at least made you laugh about rice buckets. Share this episode with a friend who's one flat tire away from financial meltdown. Of course, follow @Triggator on social media for tips, encouragement, and behind-the-scenes content that won't cost you a dime or even $1 from your gas fund. Coming up next time, the budgeting breakdown, putting first things first in your spending plan. In this episode, we'll teach you how to build a spending plan that reflects both priorities and practical needs, starting with giving, covering essentials, and aligning the rest with your personal values. Inspired by the principle, prepare every needful thing. We'll explore why giving belongs at the top of your budget, not the bottom. How to secure your 4 walls before anything else, what is truly needful versus what's just noise, and how to align your spending with what matters most. Because budgeting isn't about pressure, it's about purpose. Remember, you're not stuck, you're not broken, you're building. And the lessons you're learning in survival mode, they're shaping you for what's next. So take a breath, take a step, and take heart. Because you're not just surviving, you're leading your way out. Thanks for listening to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. See you next time.